Meanwhile, the United States is still weighing its options on whether to intervene in Iraq. This all happened as U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry told Yahoo News in an interview that Washington may be ready to cooperate with Iran to support the Iraqi government. Also late Monday, the White House announced that 275 U.S. troops will be deployed to provide support and security at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. And our team coverage continues now with CCTV's Nathan King. And Nathan, what do we make of this move from the White House?
Yeah, I've actually got the letter from U.S. President Barack Obama to Congress, and he says approximately 275 U.S. Armed Forces personnel deploying to Iraq to, quote, provide support and security for U.S. personnel and the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. So not so much boots on the ground in a combat mission to protecting U.S. interests just in case there's an evacuation there as well, although they will be armed and ready for combat, says this very letter. Meanwhile, of course, a lot of talk about John Kerry's statement to Yahoo News earlier on Monday, where he suggested it could be possible for some sort of cooperation between Iran and the U.S. when it comes to fighting the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria.
We're open to discussions if there's something constructive that can be contributed by Iran, if Iran is prepared to do something that is going to respect the integrity and sovereignty of Iraq and the ability of the government to reform.
Can you see cooperating with Iran militarily?
At this moment, I think we need to go step by step.
Speaking to US TV personality Katie Couric on Yahoo News, John Kerry did not rule out working with Iran. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani also talked about possible cooperation with the US Friday, but as yet, no decisions. Meanwhile, preparations are underway for several options. The US aircraft carrier George H.W. Bush is headed to the northern part of the Persian Gulf, where it could launch airstrikes using drones, aircraft and missiles. The U.S. amphibious warfare ship, the USS Mesa Verde, is en route to these waters too, with 550 Marines. This sort of ship is often used for evacuations. If the U.S. does launch airstrikes, then the question is, will they confine them to Iraq? The Sunni militants gained so much strength in Syria due to the ongoing civil war, and now it controls a vast swathe of territory from Aleppo in northern Syria to the gates of Baghdad in Iraq. Former U.S. envoy to Iraq is urging a deeper U.S. involvement politically too.
Only the United States can really be effective at brokering across the sectarian and ethnic fracture lines in Iraq. Only the U.S. So there's nobody else who can do this.
But as Paul Bremer knows only too well, the US has been here before. While occupying the country, it also had to use force to put down Shiite rebellions and Sunni ones too. There is little appetite among the American taxpayers to do so again. But Iraq cannot become a safe haven for terrorists either. That is why, even while considering military options, Washington is pushing Iraqi factions to come together. After a bitter decade of war, many US officials would argue, perhaps behind closed doors at least, that there is no military solution on the ground in Iraq.